Fasting and cortisol. So here's a person who suffered with terrible fatigue. So we measure a cortisol over 24 hours, and you can see over here very low free cortisol. And you look at how low the metabolized cortisol is, it is extremely low. And in fact, when you see that that's going on, there is something very inflammatory happening inside the body. And yes, this person did in fact have mold. But if you look at her circadian rhythm, normally her cortisol release should be in the middle of these two black lines, and it should elevate in the late morning, early afternoon, and then taper off. And this is why if you have good normal circadian rhythm, this is why your cortisol levels should be low at night and you shouldn't be having problems falling asleep. If you look at hers, extremely low in the morning, extremely low in the late morning, extremely low in the afternoon, and extremely low at night. This is someone who wouldn't do very well with fasting. If she tries to fast and the blood sugars dip back down, you're going to need a release of cortisol from the adrenal glands in order to start mobilizing sugar to get those blood sugars back up. So in this case, she tries to fast, she's going to have chronically low blood sugars and she's just not going to be able to get out of bed. So in this case, with extremely low cortisol, this is not something that I would recommend at all. You need to figure out why the adrenal glands are actually doing that. And I had another individual too, who's like, I can't get my blood sugars up. They're just always so low and whatnot. We tested, looked at some inflammatory triggers, and this person was just chock full of mold. When people say, oh, I have adrenal fatigue, I'm like, I don't think you have adrenal fatigue. Your adrenals are trying to adapt to a lot of inflammatory triggers. And that's why even if you look at a Dutch test, you can see the presence of cortisol and how it's converting it into cortisone. And usually if you have low cortisol and very high elevated cortisone, there's a big inflammatory trigger, and that's what the body is actually trying to do.